In this video, we will see how you can admit the employees into Fedena. There are two ways which you can use to do so. The first one is using the admission form for the employee, and the other one is using custom import bulk method. In this video, we will have a look in detail about the first method of using the admission form. Before we start admitting the employees, we have to do some settings. To do that, we will use the human resource module, and here we have this option of HR settings. The three settings that you see, which is category, position and department, is mandatory to be done before we start adding the employees. The employees of your institution would be the teachers. They can be the housekeeping staff. They can be the employees of the accounts or the finance department, and so on. These employees have to be categorized, have to be given positions in each category, and have to be allocated departments in terms of Fedena. We will go to employee category to create categories for the employees. If you open this link for the first time, you will see that this will be empty for you. I have already created some categories, so they appear here. If you want to create a new category, for example, you can categorize your employees into teaching and non-teaching staff. So you can create a category called teaching and give some short form to recognize it. And you can click on create. Once you do so, you will see that this category will appear here. So like this, I have created few categories. Inside a category, let's say we have teaching, we have to give positions. For example, we can have a junior teacher, a senior teacher, lecturer, professor, and so on. So these positions are to be given using this option of employee position. Here you can see it asks for employee category. So all the categories that you've already created in the first link will appear here. You can select the category and give the name of the position inside this category, for example, junior. So I can have a position called junior inside teaching. In the same way, I will have another position which I can create. So like this, I will have many positions that I've created inside each category. Every category must have at least one position if you want to allocate it to an employee while you are admitting him. The third mandatory option is the department of the employee. If you are a K-12 institution, the department can be academic department, sports department, music department, and so on. Otherwise, if you're a higher education, you can create departments, for example, computer science department, fashion technology department, and so on. You can give that appropriate name here. Also, please note that every employee can belong to only one department. That means if I have an employee called John, he can be present in only a single department that you create here. Now, another optional field is employee grade. This setting can be done if you want to keep a restriction. This setting can be done when you want to check how many hours the employees are working. So here you can give the name of the grade. That can be any level of the employee, the priority based on the seniority level or the authority level of the employee, the number of periods or the number of slots each day that the employee should work for can be mentioned here, and same for per week. And I can create it. So that means that I can have a group called grade A in which there can be a set of employees who take 3 periods in a day and 8 periods in a week. So we are again categorizing the employees based on a level or a grade. So like this, I can have multiple grades I have created, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, or as many based on how the hierarchy of your institution is. This grading setting will help you when you create timetable. When you are doing this subject allocation or the period allocation, you can see that for each employee, how many periods he can take or if he is taking any extra period. That depends on this option of maximum periods per week, which can be set here. Working day settings. You can set up the number of working days. This will help you when you want to calculate the LOP calculation, that is the loss of pay calculation if the employees are taking additional leaves over and above their set number of leaves that you give them. Here you can set what monthly would mean for the institution, weekly, bi-weekly and semi-monthly. Although at a time you can use only one of these. Once you've done these working day settings, you can create the leave types for the employees. To create the leave types, you can click on Add Leave Type. Here, you can give the name of the leave. For example, I can have sick leave and the code pertaining to this leave and how many sick leaves are allowed. That can be mentioned here. And also you can set the validity. That means these 4 leaves are allowed to be taken by the employees after this date. You can set that date here. If you want this leave balance for each employee to be carried forward, you can allow that or discard it. Now, if the employee is taking more than 4 sick leaves, you can charge him for loss of pay. In that case, you can make this option enable, which is liable for salary deduction. Otherwise, you can disable it. If you want to inactivate this leave at any point, you can use this option of inactive. By default, it will be active. So like this, you can create multiple leaves which will appear here. You can also see that when I've entered the details about each leave type, it does not ask me till when is the leave valid. So in this case, you have to reset the leave when you want to give the actual count again. That you can do by going to HR, Leave Management and Leave Reset. This is where you can reset the leaves for each employee or for all the employees together. Resetting would give the same count that you have already set again. If you want to give a different count, you can edit the leave that you've already set and then reset it. It will give the different count or the updated count to each employee. Next setting is about the bank details. You can enter the bank in details of the employee. These will be appearing in the admission form, and for each employee you will have to enter this information. So these are like additional details that we create for student but specific to bank. To create this field, we can just give the name of the field and make it active or inactive based on if we want to see it in the admission form. Then we have additional details. These additional details are the extra fields that you want to take from the employee in his admission form. Let's see the admission form now. We will go to Employee Management, Employee Admission. This is where you can see the admission form of the employee. It is asking for basic information like employee number, the first name, the department category and the position that we've already set, and the other information. Now, if you feel there are some fields that are missing from this form, they can be created as additional details in the previous setting that I've just shown you, similar to what we do for the student. So here I have created the additional details, which are the vehicle plate number, the passport number, and so on. And these 5 information that you see will appear in the admission form now. So let's admit one employee. We will go to employee admission, give the number of the employee. If you're admitting employee for the first time in Fedena, this field will be blank. You can give a meaningful employee number. For example, I can give the name of my institute, followed by E01. This will be auto-incremented for other forms that you see if you have enabled this setting in general settings. You can give the first name of the employee. You can put him in a department that you've already created. So let's say we put him in aviation department. Assign him a category. If he's a teacher, we will put him in teaching, and a position that you've already set. Let's say this employee is a lecturer. We can also assign grade based on how many periods or how many slots this employee should be taking per week, which we have already set in the employee grade setting. Assigning this grade will help you in the timetable allocation. You can check the work allocation there if you have done this assignment. You can mention other details like qualification, experience details, personal and the contact details. You can also choose to upload the user's photo. Other information like the addresses can be filled in, so you can contact this employee at a later stage. So in settings, we have created some additional fields for bank. We can enter this information so it will be useful to the HR department. Additional details, the 5 additional details that I've just created appear here, and they can be entered for this employee. And this is the place where you get to choose the privileges for this employee. Privilege is a functionality that the employee is able to do when you enable it for him. By default, the employee is not assigned any privilege. When you select a privilege for an employee, and when this employee logs in into his Fedena, he will be able to perform that privilege. For example, you can see that there are many privileges that are divided into administration, HR management, the settings of the system, managing the students, finance-related activities, academics, and social or other activities. Based on what all this employee does in the organization, you can enable those options under each of this division. For example, this employee can be given the responsibility of creating courses and batches. In that case, you can enable this option for him, and he'll be able to create the courses and batches. In the same way, you can allow this employee to be able to admit students using the normal admission form. In that case, again, you can enable admission. So like this, based on what you have enabled from this options, the same will be available to this employee when he logs in. For now, for this employee, let me only give one option, which is student admission. When I log in into the profile of this employee, I'll be able to perform the same. We will see that once the profile of this employee is created. Once I've saved the privileges that I want to give to the employee, I can assign him a manager. A manager is another employee in Fedena who can approve the leaves of this employee. You can assign a manager by selecting another employee from here, like this, or you can skip this step and edit the same later on from his profile. If you have not assigned the manager to the employee will not be able to apply for leaves. You can also assign payroll group to this employee. To check how payroll group settings are done, please refer to that video. Currently, I will be assigning him the payroll that I have created already, and I will be entering the information for the gross pay, and I can enter the other values here, which are the components. This information can be entered. So as per what this employee has, we can enter this information and we can assign the payroll. So now this employee is created inside Fedena, and this employee will be able to log in using employee ID, which is Fedena E01. The password by default would be Fedena E01123. You can see all the details as entered. At any point, if the manager is changed, it can be reassigned by using this change option. Now let's log in into this employee's profile. This is how the employee will be able to log in. If you have enabled the password change setting, you will be able to perform this action, and any employee in Fedena will be able to check their assignments. If they are a teacher, they'll be able to assign assignments, check the calendar, any discipline related issues, they can apply for leaves, check library, they can check their profile, and this option is enabled for only this employee because we have given him the privilege of admitting the student. If there is any other employee who we have not assigned any privilege, this option will not come. So as a basic employee with no privilege, under academics, you will see these 6 options only, which is assignment, calendar, discipline, leaves, library, and my profile. Under collaboration, you will see all these options. And apps will be the third-party applications where I have made or given this employee to be able to see them. So here, this option is coming only because of the privilege. So based on the privilege that you assign to the employee, he will be able to perform the task for that organization. This is how the employees can be admitted in Fedena.